All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm gonna take a third crack at it. All right. So look, the title of this one is gonna be, everybody knows that the Celtics are gonna beat the Knicks. Why the Knicks fan? Why are you getting your hopes? Why are you getting your hopes up, Knicks? You couldn't possibly beat the Celtics. The Celtics are unbeatable. They're a juggernaut. Yeah. Here's the thing, they're not. And this was proven. I'll put it this way. It wasn't proven last night, but what have I heard? The Knicks were 0 and 11 against the top three, 0 and against the real contenders. The Knicks are pretenders. And this is the thing. First I've heard, the Boston Celtics gonna. As soon as we beat the Pistons, who everybody knew was gonna beat the Knicks. So what I knew, everybody knew they were gonna beat the Knicks, but what I knew is they were gonna make it a battle. Everybody knew that. Everybody knew they were gonna beat the Knicks, but what I knew was they were gonna make it a battle. What I knew was, and what I said was, the Knicks were going to win that battle because of the fact that they were battle tested. When you look at a team that's more battle tested, and again, props to the Boston Celtics. I seen them on it come up 3 years ago. I seen when this team was going to come. Mind you, this is a team that even before all that, they were playing in conference finals when they had Brad Stevens as coach. They were getting to the conference finals. They got to the conference finals back when LeBron was still in Cleveland. That's about 8 years ago. So this team has been going through its wars, but so have the Knicks. Again, not to the same level, but look, the media loves to crap on New York. The media loves to crap on the Knicks and Knicks fans. I get it with you, as you've seen. And I say this. The Knicks are rabid like a football fan base. The Knicks fan base is rabid like a football fan base. They travel. They believe in the team. This has been an up and down season. It's been a very big up and down season. And, last night is one of them nights that shows. The Knicks were playing horrible, stupid basketball up to a point. They were playing stupid basketball up to a point. And eventually broke through. Tom Thibodeau, I put the stubbornness. Because look, this is the Celtics now. The 8-man rotation, the Celtics are going to play like 10, 11 men. Last night I believe they played 9. They either played 8 or 9. But they got players on that bench, deep within that bench. They're a deeper team. And they can go to certain guys. They're very versatile and interchangeable. And what was showing me is again, Karl Anthony Towns, the propensity to pick up those quick fouls. A lot of the prognostications with ESPN and all that have the Knicks were given that game. They didn't take it, which again I'm going to take a big offense to, because that's just not true. That's just not what happened. If you're objectively watching, it was a battle. Now again, this is what Boston has done all year. And this is the analytics way of playing basketball. Again, I see the value in a 3-point shot. I see why you should take 3-point shots. What I don't see is why you should take 63-point shots. And look, the Knicks had to defend 63-point shots. Again, the amount of points left on the board by them missing those 63-point shots is 135. In a game where they scored 100 and I believe was 105. They scored 100 in regulation. They scored 5 in overtime. They were up 20. They were up 20, and then proceeded to take 19 of the next 20 shots, 3-pointers. Is that the Knicks' fault? The Knicks had to defend those, and I hear about how many shots were uncontested. Well, there's a difference between uncontested 3-pointers and wide open 3-pointers. A big difference, because uncontested means, all right, this contested shot means a shot was closed out on, the hand was in the face, blah blah blah. So some people can make shots contested. Usually uncontested shots are the shots you want. Wide open shots are the shots where you got time to really get your form. That's the essence of the whole shooting, and shooting defense. You got to contest shots. So, the Celtics, look, again, the game tightened up on them. They were getting a little, nervous. Look, the variety of shots. You got Derek White, who shot 18. And I've said this pre-series. Derek White and him getting shots off the offensive boards, like him getting a shot from an offensive rebound. He's one of the best at that. That's old school basketball. That's the old school way of shooting a three. That's the old school way of a 3-point attack. Where, the best time to get a 3-point shot is off an offensive rebound. And Derek White was 2 of 18 in that. Now look, this is why I said the key to the series is the Knicks rebounding. We did a so-so job of that. See, again, the theme is, well, the Celtics played. They didn't play their best game, of course. You missed 45 threes, of course. The Knicks actually made 17 out of the 37. The Knicks took more threes than we normally take. The Celtics took more threes than they normally take. We made more threes than we normally make. And when it came down to it, okay, the Celtics take more threes, but they hit it roughly the same percentage as the Knicks. One thing that happened is the hacker Mitch in the first half that they used pretty much kind of threw the Knicks off for a loop. And this is why I said Tibbs, especially knowing the length on Boston, he needed to go with Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa played a pretty decent game for the minutes that he was in. Campaign played a pretty decent game for the minutes he was in. Mitchell Robinson was a plus 13, highest on the Knicks. And of course, when they're giving you, they're giving you points, but that's the key. They're giving you points. Mitchell, again, I said this pre-series, I've said this all year long. Mitchell Robinson is the key to the Knicks defense. Now, again, if that slows down the offense, well, again, if Mitch can make 60%, what we ask is 60%. We're not going to expect him to make 80%, but give him 50. Give me 50 to 60%. Anywhere in between that, then that's going to be a strategy that doesn't work. On a low, because you'd be better off of trying to take the Knicks out of their offensive rhythm. I mean, by just straight up defending them, because the Knicks are low. The Knicks are prone to go into these offensive lows where we're not getting anything to fall. All in all, what I noticed from the game is that the Knicks have every ability to play with the Boston Celtics. There is no, look, as a team, they're better. There's no doubt about it. They won 10 more games. They're the defending champions. But as talent-wise, there's no gap. It's very evenly matched, especially considering the Knicks are not going to go too much to the bench. Mikal Bridges, look, for the Mikal Bridges fans out there, it's one of them games where you had to see it to understand. He filled up the box score. He had single digits in every category. Yet the shot that he did make, the couple of shots that he did make, that three, the steals, a couple of blocks, those were key. And he did it at the most timely. Add to the fact that he was largely the guy defending Derek White. Deuce McBride again, he came in. Shout out to him. Josh Hart did his normal. OG Anunoby was terrific. Towns was good on the boards. He was cooking in the first half. Again, the foul trouble got him out of rhythm. And this is why I say, Tibbs, this rotation that you want to run, you know you have one of your most important players. See, again, the Knicks will not win another game in this series if the Towns doesn't score 20. So, Tibbs, if your game plan isn't to get Towns 20 points, we're gonna be in trouble. And if you have to protect him from himself and take him out after that first foul and bring him back in when the game gets back to flowing, gets to a different flow, bring him back into the first quarter, then do that. He gets the first foul. Hopefully he gets it 5-6 minutes in. You know he's going to get it. You know he's not going to get out the first quarter without a foul. Because again, he's the backline defense. If he's the starting center, he's the backline defense. And the Celtics going to break us down enough to where Towns is going to have a weak contest, and he's going to have to pick up. So we have to use his fouls judiciously. Again, you bring in Mitch. Then, before you bring back in Towns so he can pick up number 2 or possibly number 3, why don't you go to Precious? Bring Towns back in. Like, you got to change this up, Tibbs. Again, I'm a big critic of Tibbs. Tibbs did get credit for the defensive change, which is another reason why Boston didn't play well, didn't shoot well in that second half. Tibbs got to get credit for that. The players also got to get credit for it as well. So the players, came up with Tibbs' game plan. The Knicks were not mediocre defensively last night. They were actually excellent. You held a team like Boston to 25% shooting the 3. You hold them to 105 in an overtime game. You hold them to 100 in regulation. This is all underneath. This is all under the average. You win another tight game, and you got to give Tibbs. But again, this is Boston. This is Boston. You cannot. We needed this game won, especially once we made the rally. A lot of people said that we needed to win. You could not rally and lose that game. You could have came away with a moral victory, and you could have had a second chance to take a game in Boston in game 2. But yeah, it's one of them things where Boston could have said, we played, Boston, the message could be, we played our worst game, and yet we still won. So it was good that the Knicks won. Honestly, the Knicks better not come out full of themselves for game 2. Because, again, if Boston is wounded right now, if Boston's confidence is wavering, if Tatum might come out, and that's just one thing that I noticed. One thing I noticed through the regular season matchups, because a lot of people have not been paying attention to the Knicks Celtics over the last few years. And again, I remember I said this on many podcasts that I jumped on and panels that I jumped in. The Knicks have been playing the Celtics evenly for the last 4 years since they came up and made the finals in 2022. The Knicks were right there in January, right at the New Year's. That we were both middling 500 teams. But what happened was, that year, Boston's defense took hold. They weren't a good offensive team. They weren't a good three-point shooting team at that point. I don't think they had Peyton Pritchard. I didn't think they had certain guys. I know they had White. I believe they had White. This is still they didn't have Porzingis. They had Robert Williams III, and they also still had Marcus Smart on that team. So they were not a good three-point shooting team, but they were an elite defensive team. The Knicks were right there with them defensively. The difference is they wound up getting a Drew Holiday. They wound up getting guys, better guard play. And it took us another year to go out and get Jalen Brunson. So 23, 24, 25, we've been in the mix. We've had key injuries to derail us. But I've said for a long time, the Knicks have played Boston pretty tough. Last year, notwithstanding, we played them 3 times before the play-in tournament, like right before the New Year's. And the next time we played them was the last game of the season. Okay, that game was Boston had everything wrapped up, but then feigned, we had everything wrapped up, but they were full court trapping Brunson, and Brunson still dropped 39. So again, look, they can bother Brunson. They can play him one-on-one. They can double up. They can do a lot of things to slow down Jalen Brunson. But one thing they can't do is lock him up. And so, again, they were Knicks were 1-3 last year. They were 0-4. So they were 1-7. But before that, the Knicks and the Celtics played very, very tight. They were even for like 3 years. Okay? So the 1-3, again, the Knicks had two different teams. They only played them the one time with OG Anunoby. And mind you, there was no Julius Randle because he was hurt. So and then again, there's the first three matchups. There's no Mitchell Robinson. Okay, Mitchell Robinson played in the last one, but I believe Jalen Brunson sat. So there is no the fact that we were 0-4 and they made short work of us. I'll say this: it seemed like Boston felt the need to prove something to the Knicks more than the Knicks need to prove something to them. I think the Knicks know this Boston team very, very well, especially Tatum and Brown. They know them very, very well. And last night, you saw what we could do to Tatum and Brown specifically. I seen the Knicks make Jason Tatum go 4 for 18 in an overtime game with R.J. Barrett guarding him all night. So again, there's no disrespect to Jason Tatum. He's the truth, and I'm sure he will have a vintage Jason Tatum game. But the fact of the matter is, for all you guys that think that the Celtics toy with the Knicks, you haven't been watching. I've been watching. I've been noticing. This is Mr. 10 Toes Down over here. I've been saying this for a while. The Knicks will give the Celtics a series. And last night proved it. You don't lose game one on your home floor up 20 and think you're not getting a series. I don't care how you spin it. And there's people trying to spin it because they knew that Boston was this far ahead up above everybody, even Cleveland. Well, guess what? The three best teams in the NBA, the 360-win teams, all took game one losses on their home floor. All blowing leads at that. Then you want to say injury that Hauser? I mean, come on. Hauser's Hauser. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis with the mystery illness? 'Tis life. Garland? 'Tis life. OKC didn't have any injuries. Everybody played for OKC. So, again, the three teams at 160 games were terrific. But not one team, I've said it all year, there's no juggernauts. These teams are performing very well. But no one is a juggernaut. No one is head and shoulders of talent above the rest of the field. And I think it kind of proved. I think it proved last night, I mean. So, yeah, this is the optimistic Knicks fan, bro. I stand on business. I stand on ground. I stand my ground. I said, I picked Knicks at 6, and I believe it. We have to put pedal to the metal. The Knicks can basically make me look like a fool. But we have to put pedal to the metal. We win or lose, and I know Boston is going to come up they're going to come out swinging their best shot. They're going to come out focused. We need to do the same. We don't need to be happy that we took one. We need to try to go into New York with a 2-0 lead. The Knicks are undefeated in the playoffs on the road this year, mind you. Does anybody give me the Knicks credit for that? Imagine when we get the MSG dominance back. Hey, sky's the limit, man. Sky's the limit, guys. So again, I look at it from what I'm seeing. I look at it, I said this, I'm not the most technical guy. I don't know all the X and O's. What I do know is what I see out there on the court. I do know is I saw all year long, I saw Boston feeling the need to prove something to the Knicks. And, they of course, the Knicks it should have been the other way around. But the Knicks just packed up and licked their wounds and understood. We're probably gonna see this team in the playoffs. And now the playoffs is here. And the Knicks are not gonna be a team that's gonna get ran over. Now, yeah, Boston could come back easily, conceivably come back and win the next 4 games. Easily. But I guarantee you one thing: those games are going to be a freaking when I say easily, not easily, but those games are going to be a battle. It's going to be a war. I said this. Get ready for it. Boston fans were really cocky. Knicks fans were ready for this. Ready to come out swinging. The Garden was sold out just for a watch party. I see watch parties in other cities where you get 2,000-3,000 people in the stands. The Garden was sold out, 18,000 there at least. So New York, stand up. It's gonna be exciting times. Let's go Knicks. Peace.